Hello once again to Henry Kissinger. Is Pokemon going to die? Not a threat.
Just a fact.
Sorry. I already interrupted, so I guess we might as well go with this. I think you said like hello and once again to Henry Kissinger's Pokemon
you know what?
going
Hello
to die.
and once again. You know, that casual greeting.
I'm just saying if it were me, I would want to use it like a human sentence.
I don't know how to, which weird is that I've been a cyborg this whole time. I don't know how none of you, picked up on that.
That explains
but
everything.
Anyway, welcome to the #1 leftist podcast on the internet, run by a robot and several human beings. I'm Lauren, aka Encyclopedia Bitch Tanica.
I'm Linus, aka Justin Spewdo, but the Spew is capitalized because it stands for Society for the Protection of Elvish Welfare.
That's very liberal of you.
Oh, it's good.
I'm Josh, a.k.a. Margaret Hatcher and the Giant Egg.
God.
Hi, everybody. I'm Patrick, a.k.a. Beta Raytheon Bill.
Good.
Oh, it's
Nailed it.
I'm Sam, a.k.a. J.O. Biden.
Great.
Oh, I'm so excited that we're all here once again to talk about this week. And it is a week that I feel like was not as bad as some of our previous weeks, which I think is always a good thing.
Yeah, it's definitely
Nobody
better than
immediately
last week.
died, like a bunch. Yeah.
Every week
definitely better.
Every week we talk about this one wasn't as bad or a lot worse. Should we start implementing a rating system somehow?
No.
No, I think just subjectively very bad or not as bad.
Yeah, than the previous one.
Yeah, I feel like if there's a huge crisis in the middle of the week, then definitely bad, but otherwise I feel like,
Well,
things are looking up.
This was a real treat for me, though, personally, because it's not often that I get to be on an episode where we're not talking about a school shooting that just happened.
This was
I know. I feel like we got through it.
This was the first week where I think I didn't wake up one day to some news that just crushed my fucking soul. There was a few that came close, but it wasn't oh my god, where you just can't really deal with it. The news I was able to deal with this week.
Yeah.
Although some of that is us just becoming stronger.
Yeah.
And by that I mean inoculated.
I'm lifting every day.
That's good.
My spirits, that is.
Oh.
Hey.
One of our
What's
one
your
of our
secret?
Patreon donors who is listening in on this episode, which you can do if you donate $10 to patreon.com/HKIPGTD, asked what would turn a week from not bad to actually good. And I think it would probably be I don't know, Henry Kissinger dies, not a threat, just a fact,
P-tape.
or
P-tape.
P-tape, or
It's not gonna happen.
I
It's
know,
not gonna, but I can hope, Sam.
I know.
You all said that Ready Player One was gonna suck, and
It did.
maybe we'll get
Why would
Maybe
that
we'll-
be what makes your week good, as if Ready Player One was good?
maybe we get something of a P-tape. The P-tape was directed by Steven Spielberg, and it's he actually cut out a lot of the bad parts. And
oh my god.
Remember,
PT, the
Ready Player
extraterrestrial.
One, the book, was full of all those nostalgic references, but I think my favorite nostalgic reference that the main character was studying in that one scene was definitely the P-tape.
it was the historic P-tape.
Oh man.
Did I watch the P-tape? You better believe I watched the P-tape. I memorized every frame of it.
All right, well, I guess we should get into some of the stuff that actually happened this week, which sadly did not include anybody being punished for the things that they've done. So let's get started with, let's talk about the census that's going to come out in 2020. So the 2020 census has released their questions early. This is a thing that they do in Rhode Island, which I guess is a great sample size area for the national census that they do. And the additions that have been made to this upcoming census include differentiating between same-sex and opposite-sex couples living in a household, which that sounds pretty good. And then there's a additional question that's been added about asking your citizenship status living in this country, which I think is, which according to the White House is supposed to be a measure to make sure that communities are properly being funded, so that way, discriminatory voting policies don't, influence everything. But I don't know. I don't know if the government knowing people's citizenship status is a good thing. How's the temperature on that?
Yeah, I mean, like, ostensibly it's so that quote unquote real Americans get like tax dollars, but what it boils down to is they're just gonna ship all that fucking information to ICE and defund states with a lot of illegals. So, good. Great.
Yeah, I do like how they still try to put like that veneer of like, oh, we're doing it for reasonable reasons, when Trump is like at the same time screaming on Twitter about like California should be executed because they have illegals.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's really not a ton to really say because, the census is in a couple of years and we have no idea what could actually change, but it's enough to make you kind of scared.
Whether the United States will still be a country.
Yeah.
Right.
Or by then, Pence
true.
could be president and he could put, like, are you gay on the census.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be...
Like,
that's the thing, is that, I just said, oh, it's kind of cool that they're differentiating between same-sex and opposite-sex couples, but at the same time, like, that is telling the government, oh, by the way, I'm in a same-sex marriage, which, I mean, you already have to to get married, you gotta get legal precedent anyway, but like, I don't know, it's kind of weird.
Yeah. I think the other angle about this thing is that, like, it's not just gonna hurt people who aren't in the country legally. Like, California doesn't spend its entire budget on people who aren't citizens. It's gonna hurt citizens, and it's gonna hurt a lot of them.
Mm-hmm. Like, people who aren't in this country with, like, legal documentation pay a lot of taxes. And I'm surprised. I'm not surprised, but yeah, they are a big contributor to our economy.
Right.
Yeah. In the form of stealing our jobs. Am I right?
Oh, yeah. Well, sure.
Sorry, nobody was saying anything, so I turned racist.
Is this your default state?
As our podcast is wont to do.
The census,
we gotta do the ironic bigotry.
Doesn't the census not really, it's not really supposed to be like a way to track people? Just kind of trends? Like, I remember reading somewhere that like the census isn't quite as like serious as people seem to think it is. Like, it's not meant to, it must only provide like general ideas.
Yeah, well,
it's
that's
just
what it's supposed to do. Yeah, is just provide information about like demographics and population sizes to the government so they can decide how to best like distribute incoming cash flow. But this administration is from hell, so they're going to try and corrupt it as much as they can.
I think it's also supposed to determine like representatives, like how many states get what based on population size. But
I feel like it wouldn't really matter. Like, if they want to do something, the census is like at worst, it could be like an excuse for them to do something they were probably already going to do anyway,
Yeah.
So they're like piggybacking something fascist.
If I may, real quick, Happy Weed Minute.
Happy Weed Minute.
Happy Weed Minute.
Happy West Coast Weed Minute.
West Coast Weed Minute.
So,
Sam, how are you partaking right now?
I'm blowing the finest doja.
That's what it is. That's what you do.
What does
with
blowing mean?
Don't call me out on this. You know I'm not ready to answer that.
Okay, I'll coach you later.
Speaking of things that are appearing to be helpful but are actually kind of fascist and terrible, we wanted to talk about the bills that are being pushed through Congress called FOSTA and SESTA. I think Patrick had stuff he wanted to bring up about it.
Yeah, so I mentioned these a few weeks back on an episode. SESTA, which is the Stop Enabling Sex Trafficking Act, and FOSTA, which is the Fight Online Sex Trafficking Act, were proposed essentially to try and limit the illegal and involuntary sex trafficking of people, but not really. I mean, what these bills are going to do, in effect, is take away a lot of online safe spaces for sex workers of all varieties who needed a way to talk to other sex workers to discuss anything from, like, clients that might be potentially dangerous to even just like business strategy. And so you see a lot of big internet companies like Craigslist and Google among them who are cracking down on the trading of any sort of sexual content, which is going to hit sex workers really hard. People who make their living doing this in a way that they want to, that's totally consensual, that's a lifestyle they enjoy and appreciate, which it's a short-sighted bill is kind of the point I'm trying to make here.
It always seems to be based on the idea that, like, of course no one wants to be a sex worker, right? Like, this is all based on the presupposition that, like, all sex workers are somehow forced to do it, or, like, it's so fucked up. And, like, isn't it proven that, like, it's so much of a safer space? Like, when you have online, like, places for sex workers to be, it's so much safer. You can vet people that you meet. You can discuss things over there. Like, and to the point, who posted this? There was, like, when they brought in online, like, sex work, stuff, not the homicide rate of sex workers, but the homicide rate of women in general dropped. Like, that's how much it dropped, or rose. It might be.
Yeah.
It has such an effect.
Senate, like, both bills are trying to amend this particular piece of legislation in the Communications Decency Act, and there's a section there. It's Section 230, which is what you, like, hear people talk about, like, when you see the, like, celebrity campaigns about Section 230. It basically prevents, it keeps websites protected from liability for what users write on their website, which is why, you know, like, oh, you can say wild, crazy shit on Twitter and nobody, like, you know, Twitter isn't liable for the things that you do on their platform. So it's basically, that's how our platforms work, is because of this amendment. And they're trying to basically keep the platforms that sex workers use. So not even just, like, you know, sites that are explicitly for sex workers, but also, like, Twitter and Instagram and Google Drive are now liable to like, having their content be removed.
And I want to point out, this isn't just, like, for sex workers who meet people, like, face to face. This is also affecting, like, a lot of cam models and stuff. Yes, because what this bill does is it allows prosecutors to hold websites that host this kind of content liable for anything. And so, like, companies like Google Drive have already started cracking down, deleting or locking sex workers out of their accounts. And it's you know, it's hard for these people to make a living if their platforms for it are being taken away from them.
Right. And it's kind of all done in the name of, like, well, that way, if there's, you know, especially I think, like, child pornography, I think, is the big, like, oh, if it's hosted on your site, you can be liable. And that's why sites are cracking down. But it's pretty likely that that's not going to be the only.
Bet they're not going to crack down on
material
Bitcoin,
that's going to be removed. Oh, of course not.
Isn't there like actual child pornography in Bitcoin, or how does that work?
Yes,
it's in the blockchain.
The blockchain.
Yeah, it's in the blockchain. It's in every single Bitcoin. So, like, cool currency, guys.
Cool.
Yeah, great. Thanks for that.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like they chose that. Like, someone put it in, and then it's like, well, it's here now.
Right, exactly.
Craigslist Personals is still up in Canada, it looks like. Canada's got a weird law. There's a lot of European countries that have this status where, like, it's not illegal to be a sex. It's legal to, like, sell sexual services, but it's illegal to buy them, which is very weird. It basically, when it was implemented, it was basically so that you could never, like, bust sex workers, because that was, like, a big problem. So when you busted, you would only bust Johns or whatever. Yeah. So, like, that's the idea, but it's just this completely paradoxical law that doesn't really do anything. Right. I mean, at least you can't arrest sex workers in Canada. You know, maybe. It still does happen a lot, I'm sure.
Cool law.
It doesn't make any sense. It's like we're gonna make drugs legal, but you can't do them.
Now that you say that actually is how a lot of, like, marijuana legalization stuff has gone down.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, in Massachusetts, that's kind of the situation right now.
But I live in Washington, so I can blow on that doja all the
You look out the
time.
window and there's just trees, just as far as the eye can
cotton.
see.
Oh no, that's
Yeah.
vaping.
Yeah, they
You
call
can-
this
oh.
the Evergreen State because of all the marijuana.
Oh man! So while we said at the top of the show that there weren't any horrible school shootings this week, thank God for that.
Yay.
There was a big surge in activism because the March for Our Lives was this weekend.
Yeah, so some great activism, people really getting out there, turning out for the NRA, and just making a stand and saying we will not allow. Huh?
Can I? Let me get I'm getting a news break. It looks like the march was about not having the NRA run our country and having better gun control, actually.
Well, yeah,
Weirdly
but more
enough.
importantly, people really just said, we're tired of being pushed around, and we're gonna give our money to the people who really need it. And with everything that's been going on, I think we can all agree that sort of the best place, if you can spare $1, pass it to the NRA for lobbying. God knows they need it.
We're going to be donating all of our Patreon proceeds to NRA this month.
God.
Oh, jeez.
Yay!
Don't even joke about that.
This episode brought to you by the NRA.
NRA brought to you by Henry Kissinger's Pokemon Going to Die, not a threat, just a fact. So for anyone who hasn't heard about this, it's fucking disgusting. After the shooting in Parkland, in January, the NRA got $248,000 in individual contributions, and in February, when the shooting happened, they got $779,000. So that is more than
Dope.
triple the money. And I just can't imagine the mindset where you hear about a mass shooting of teenagers and you're like, "Oh my god, that's so horrible. I'm gonna make a donation to the NRA right now because they're gonna come for my guns, because they're gonna try to stop teenagers from being slaughtered." And
Yeah, I think
It
they
probably
literally
is that.
have been on TV like, oh, well, these kids are appealing to the emotional element, and that's why everybody's on their side. And it's like, the fact that they don't want to die at school?
someone used the phrase "the sympathy factor," which is such a oh god anyway. Yeah, so
They don't have a soul.
in the week after the shooting, the number of people who donated to the NRA increased 500%. So that's
So great. Why?
That does happen though. Like I think after every shooting,
oh yeah.
they get a surge in membership and a surge in donations because like it like, well, I mean, people are monsters, but there's like this reactionary like, oh, we gotta protect our guns because they know that a bunch of people are about to say, what the fuck's wrong with everyone?
Yeah.
That's the thing though, is I understand on a shithead level the knee-jerk reaction of there's all this violence, I need a gun to protect myself. That's one thing.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
But the idea, there's all this violence, I need to give money to people to protect my gun? That's just so fucking backwards to me. And people who are friends of the NRA are weird and wrong, I know. But if you'll excuse the hot take, I do think that it's fucked up. So
Yeah. I think we also kind of wanted to talk about, like, not just the kind of reaction from the NRA, but this kind of the attitudes that I've kind of been seeing about the march itself. I was just walking around in Boston the weekend of the march, and like I walked past these two little kids who were maybe like first graders. They were really, really tiny, and they had their own like homemade sign like about like stop killing us and ban guns. And it's just like the fact that children are having to like advocate for policy where the adults in their lives just are refusing to do so is like really staggering. And I think we're not kind of fully like it's not sinking in the fact that like kids are the ones who are actually trying to like push this kind of legislation and activism forward.
Right.
Like 17-year-olds who are like grieving are like leading marches and like doing interviews, and it's just like everything has failed at this point that we have to rely on like children
And like
to
the
do it.
responses from like gun people have gotten progressively more and more cartoonishly monstrous. Like,
Yeah.
like Santorum, human Ziploc bag of shit, Rick Santorum. What did he say? He said, instead of marching, you should learn CPR. So, like,
What the fuck does that even mean?
He's acknowledging, oh, this is going to happen. So you should, instead of trying to stop it, learn CPR. So when your classmates get shot, you can do CPR. That's not me, like, fucking with his words. That's exactly what he meant.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Yeah, if you just
Because trading kids
compression
for
on a
war
bullet
zone
wound.
is
not
better
even the
than
thing,
trying to
though.
take any
No.
kind of limits
He
to
could
prevent
have
gun
said-
violence.
Press their heart until the blood stops coming out of them.
That's, if you've been shot in the heart, compressing it's not going to help. Like,
Right.
and he could have said, that stupid shit about, like, instead of marching, you should, make friends with kids who you think might shoot up the school. He could have said that, and it would have been still dumb, but it would have made a kind of a sense.
Yeah.
But he just
There
said,
was a
he fucking said, just learn CPR, so when you get shot, you can do something about it.
Or just
Right.
get a
Well,
bucket of
not
there
rocks.
was an editorial in the New York Times written by one of the students at the high school who actually was like, you know what, I actually did try to really get to know
Yeah.
this kid and to
Yeah.
try and like reach out
Yeah.
to him. And it's still, my friend still died. Like,
Yeah.
Well, and like someone else made the point,
excuses.
if getting bullied was the issue, then you'd see like trans people and black people and gay people shooting up the schools. But no, it's always the white men because getting bullied isn't the issue. It's entitlement.
Like,
It's-
they've
It's-
been
it's
saying this.
toxic.
It's somebody with
masculinity.
history of domestic violence.
Yeah, and it's
like
access to
99%
guns.
of the time.
Yeah.
It's something that goes all the way back to Columbine because remember they painted the Columbine shooters as like bullied outcasts, but like I think later on it came out no they were bullies, or at least one of them was. Like one of the kids was like a fucking asshole who bullied gay kids in the school. So like no, he wasn't bullied, he was just a monster.
I believe it. But he was a gamer, and that was the main problem.
Yeah,
Counter-Strike.
Yeah. I was
Enthusiastic agreement from Sam.
Got Jack Johnson on this podcast.
I was playing Kingdom Hearts the other day, and just something about just the way that like the characters moved around on the screen. I was just like hearing the voice acting just like sent me into like a blind rage. And thank God I didn't have a gun because
Or a keyboard.
video games
Or
really do.
Sam's about to go on a Keyblade rampage.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think one thing that
When
might be
you
uncomfortable
walk
that we do
away.
have to talk about is that grieving teenagers might not be the best policymakers.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah, among the demands
Yeah.
made by the Parkland kids were an increased police presence in schools and a laxing of restrictions on communication between mental health professionals and law enforcement. And it needs to be said that neither of those things would be good and would probably also not really reduce the problem.
It's like
And I do think, first of all, about the like privacy between like mental health professionals and the police thing, like that's already a thing that like
Right.
you
Yeah,
can
like,
go
this
around
is already-
privacy
yeah.
restrictions if you believe that the person is a threat to themselves or others.
Yeah.
If I go back to like Columbine, like after Columbine, if you were like a kid who wore black or listened to like Metallica or some shit, like you had everyone was watching you. So there's already that mentality of like keeping an eye on certain like, messed up kids or anyone you might think do a shooting. But like if you were to actually make this policy, you'd basically be giving people a blank check to like throw people into asylums or fucked up
Right.
schools just because, oh, you know what, they might shoot the school up.
Right.
But I don't want to like get too like shitting on the specific people in the movement because
Well,
for sure.
That's another thing we want
I
to
think
talk
it is
about.
it is important to remember that these are like teenagers who went through something horrific, and like
Yeah.
we don't really know their politics before this. All that we really know, the only like real common thread that brings all them together is that they went through a shooting and they don't want that to happen again. It's
Right.
not like this is some like leftist political party that people are now going like, oh, but what about the ableism and the cops? Like, yeah, sure. That was never something that we could say for sure wasn't going to come up. And
Right.
I mean, I'm not trying to defend them, because I do agree that those policies are wrong. I just think it's important to there has to be a middle ground between like idolizing people and putting them on a pedestal and being like, they're gonna save us all, and being like, did you know that David Hogg is the son of an FBI agent and Emma
Like,
Gonzalez comes from a slave driving, plantation owning ex-bourgeoisie Cuban family?
Like, don't
Yeah.
play purity
Which is
politics.
verbatim. I'm reading that from a Facebook post that's right in front of me right now.
Right. Yeah. I mean, they're fucking kids. You can't expect them.
They're 17
to do everything. Right.
Don't
And
pay,
they like
yeah.
they're impressionable, and they've like shown that they're even open to change. Like David
Right.
Hogg has mentioned stuff about how, putting cops in the schools is going to disproportionately affect black students. Like
Yeah.
they're only learning, and like they're still light years ahead of where I was when I was 17.
Oh yeah, fuck yeah, dude.
There's
I was pro cop as
Holy
shit when I was
shit.
that age.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was a piece today, a video that came out of black students at the high school, going back and being really made uncomfortable by the increased police presence at the school. So the kids who have kind of caught the most attention from the high school are definitely aware of the fact that so much of the gun violence in this country, while we pay a lot of attention to school shootings, especially in more affluent areas and with majority white high schools, whereas so much gun violence in this country is from suicides and random violence and police violence. So I think that you're right that the kids are very aware of where the time that they're growing up in and the importance of listening to other people's voices. And so I have confidence that the kind of like pro cop ableist kind of messaging that's sort of been crafted around them, I think has been mostly because they are young and can be kind of manipulated by, not that they are personally, but that what they're saying can be manipulated by other people into thinking oh yeah, cops are good.
Yeah.
They're the answer to this problem.
Mm-hmm.
I think I saw
and
one
I don't
take.
I don't think that the movement should be written off because of that. I think that the movement
Oh, not at all. Yeah.
can be influenced,
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, to
yeah.
think about further issues surrounding gun violence. Yes, definitely.
I saw a tweet or a post or something that was just someone saying, hey, please reconsider this and consider the implications of it. So, like, I think that is more like the response than playing purity politics with shooting survivors, is just say, like, hey, this is not going to lead to anything good. Please reconsider this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think if you end up in kind of the same, kind of route of the NRA and the conservatives, which is we don't have to listen to these kids and we don't have to change anything, I think is a problem. Like, I think that's a real problem that I want leftists to be careful of falling into. That oh yeah, well, they don't have perfect politics at 17, so I don't need to listen to them. And I mean, if you are somebody who felt like that message about mental illness was like enough for you to be like, well, you know what, I'm not sure I can really get behind this, that's totally valid. I just think as a whole, I don't want them to be written off.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've been seeing like that post that I was referencing on Facebook. Like, I've seen people that I know sharing that, and I'm
Me
just
too.
like,
Yeah.
what are you doing? Like, it's.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna put the person who wrote it on blast because I don't know them, but they like. Liberals are truly insidious when it comes to helping cops and white supremacists infiltrate movements. And then they said, like, Gonzalez's ethnic identity, the white guilt plays into it. It's like, that's just that's just so the wrong way of looking at this, in my opinion.
It's so bad.
It's not productive at all, for one thing.
That's InfoWars talk.
No, it's not.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's, yeah.
Kind of is.
It's that kind of rhetoric of just this blabbering that kind of sound that throws a bunch of like loaded words at you and is like, here's an idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't want to, I don't know if I should say this, but the people that I've seen sharing it are kind of like the most performative people that I know.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Anyway, we can move on.
Yeah. I mean, the person who wrote the post, like, I think they're on the right side. Like, they want the same things that we want. I just think that that's a weird angle to come at it from, you know?
I agree.
For sure.
Nuance is hard.
It really is. Does anybody want to talk about Stormy Daniels? Like, I mean, she had an interview with 60 Minutes, and I think people were expecting that she would, I don't know,
pull out
get
a
her
picture of
boobs out
Trump's
on
dick.
TV,
Whip out a dildo and be like, this was modeled after his penis.
It's just
but,
a
I mean,
job.
I don't know that.
Like everyone knows.
I know. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I don't think there's really a lot of like new information. Just kind of stuff we knew already.
Well, there was there's another woman who is a former Playboy model. I believe she's come forward trying to get out of a non-disclosure agreement about a encounter with Trump, and it's one more reminder that, like, man, nothing matters.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all just
and then
so
he can just
fucking
kind of do
stupid.
whatever he wants, and he's always been
yeah.
an abusive bully who can throw money at the problem.
I don't want to brag
Yes.
here, but there's nobody who has had to sign a non-disclosure agreement about anything I've ever done.
You are young, though.
Can you disclose
Yeah.
any of the non-disclosures that you've had to sign?
No.
Okay, that's fine.
I had to
I
sign.
thought we were gonna get like a hot breaking news scoop on this podcast.
I mean,
but
Lauren, the point of an NDA is that you can't really talk about it.
I had to sign a non-disclosure agreement once because they sent me a script and they were like, "You can't show anyone this script because it's we haven't shot it yet." So
Was it the script for Ready Player One?
yeah, it was the script for Ready Player. I auditioned for
Is
Ready
that
Player
why
One.
you've been defending it so hard because you knew that it was actually good?
I play who's in it? The Iron Giant.
Video games.
Nice. Same here.
And Linus as the Iron Giant.
Following. I can't do
He
the Iron
loves
Giant
to
voice.
shoot guns.
Well, the one thing we know about Iron Giant is that he loves shooting his gun.
He
The one
loves
thing
it.
that I know about the Iron Giant is that he's a character from Ready Player One, 2018 film.
He has a Ready Player One branded Funko Pop.
This is the third time we've talked
Yes,
about
he
it on this
does.
podcast.
That every time I'm reminded about that, I just want to jump out a window. That's horrific.
Hey, remember how D&D from Game of Thrones are going to be directing Star Wars movies?
I
Stop.
didn't until right now.
Let's move on.
So, I think this is kind of the biggest story in terms of, like, I don't know. I feel like this is the kind of the story that people have been talking about the most this week, even though this week has still been just like a onslaught of constant news. But Cambridge Analytica.
Yeah.
So from what we kind of know about the kind of research that they were doing, it sounds like the researcher who had access to Facebook material had access to, I believe, 53 billion relationships. Like, those are how many people, like relationships between people that this particular research group had access to. And this kind of whistleblower came forward after, falling out of Facebook and being like, oh yeah, Facebook is just constantly collecting your data all the time. And, they absolutely used it to manipulate political views, to manipulate how people felt about the election. And it's just like, that is mind-boggling to me.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Like,
then
yeah, by the way.
not just our presidential election here, but also other big votes like the Brexit vote in the UK.
The Brexit is what I've been hearing about.
For sure.
Yeah, because they're a British-based company, I believe. So that was their big first one.
For the
And the
record,
guys-
Yeah, I think it was like Channel 4 that broke the story and like leaked footage of them just being like, oh yeah, we just totally, we use everybody's data to influence
yeah.
Right.
the information that they see. It's fine.
The main whistleblower we've been seeing, like the guy with the pink hair, I can't remember his name, but he was a co-founder of Cambridge Analytica, I'm pretty sure. And he went
Oh, I
on
didn't know that.
to found his own company that did pretty much the same thing. So, I mean, he's not exactly a hero, but like he also reached out and worked with a bunch of super conservative people.
Right.
Yeah, it seems like that is kind of the political angle. I don't know if you could tell, this is kind of breaking news here, but Facebook is kind of conservative. And so it seems like they're pretty good at, the manipulation of information thing. Just on the whole.
Right. And I think Zuckerberg is one of the people who's being demanded to testify. Which is odd because last I checked, I don't think perjury laws apply to appliances, but I could be wrong.
Nice.
Can't he afford to look better?
Yeah, he definitely can afford to
You
look
think he
better.
can afford, like, a suit and a haircut?
Okay. If I had his amount of money, you think that I would be wearing a suit just because I could afford it? Fuck no. Why would I want to wear a suit?
I'd be wearing a fucking robot armor body everywhere.
I would, if I had that kind of money, I would not be wearing anything because I would never have to go outside.
I'd wear a Gundam.
Okay, so we got 2 for Gundam.
If people are
I don't know.
interested in like the amount of Facebook information Facebook has on you, the weird thing is it really doesn't even bother me. I don't know why. I'm just like, well, what can they even do to me? But like, it is buck wild when you actually look into it. Listen to the Reply All episode. Is Facebook listening to me? It's called something like that.
It's like all of your contacts, everyone you've called, everyone who's called you, everyone you've texted or have texted you, right? Yeah, where you are, your location data, almost everywhere.
Videos that you made, but like you made and maybe were about to post but didn't post.
Right.
Like, they got it all.
Like stuff
For
you
me
put in your
personally,
shopping cart.
I take solace in the fact that I'm just like one speck of dust in this giant cloud.
Yeah,
exactly.
There is that.
Also, I don't
Nobody
do
cares.
anything.
At least until this podcast gets big.
Yep.
Well,
it does make me uncomfortable that when I go on Facebook, like the only news stories I see are ones confirming my opinions.
Right.
Like, it's like, oh god, how must things look to conservative
I thought that was
people?
just because my opinions lined up with facts.
Well,
oh yeah.
It's a little bit of
well,
both.
I mean, in our case.
There are a couple of people that I am like still friends with who, or like are family members who will post like those conservative memes that always seem to go around. And it's just, it is amazing how Facebook is like, oh, you looked at this image for, because you were so mad at it, you just stared at this image, or you clicked on it so you could share it in your Discord,
We were
and so
tracking
now
your
we're going to show
eyes.
you more of it.
Yes.
Literally. Oh man, technology's great. Follow us on Twitter. Oh man. So this is actually like, it's an interesting update to a story that we talked about a couple of weeks ago where it was Howard University's president being really shitty to somebody who wrote, saying that she had housing issues and was going to be homeless if the university didn't intervene. So there was a Medium post that was written anonymously alleging that Howard's upper administration and financial aid office had stolen at least $1 million worth of financial aid money from their students. Mm-hmm. And Howard did confirm that it was true, and I believe they fired 6 employees of that office today. And oh boy, I don't know what the heck is going on over at Howard, but I will say the thing that made me laugh about this was Howard students actually took over the administration building. Like a whole bunch of them just came into the lobby and they just started singing "Bitch Better Have My Money."
Nice.
Because I love people. I love the Twitter, the jokes made about one of these members of the financial aid office who's, I don't know his last name, but I do know his first name, and it's Tyrone. And there's lots of pictures of him, like, wearing really nice, expensive clothes with his Gucci bag, and, like, on vacation in the Barbados, and just kind of being shameless about it. So,
oh my god,
I just thought that was worthy of highlighting.
That reminds me of when
Chris Christie.
Remember when Chris Christie? Yes.
Yep. On the beach.
Oh, yeah.
That's just the mindset, man.
Of course.
You can do that. So why not? Why give a fuck what anybody thinks about you? Who cares if people know that you're corrupt and gross? Just do it.
Of course. You can just kind of do it. And you can, where it's not like this country has like a student loan issue or anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not here.
And with your Patreon dollars, we can afford to be that. What?
Oh man. Ugh. Man, let's get into some shout-outs. So I thought about bringing this stuff up when we were talking about the March for Our Lives, but oh man, these are just two quick and just so sweet stories about where we are in gun control discussion right now. So there's a place in Pennsylvania that has a really unique idea for how to stop gun violence in their schools.
Interesting.
And their plan is to get a 5-pound bucket and fill it with rocks, river stones, and that way, if
Chef kiss,
if
delicious,
a shooter,
perfect.
if a shooter comes into the room, their kids will have the bucket and they'll be ready to stone the gunman and protect themselves. You know,
Nothing.
And I wish I was kidding.
That's the fucking beginning of an infomercial. There's a guy opening fire on a classroom full of children, and they're throwing rocks at him, and then it all goes gray, and a big X appears on them, and the kid turns to the camera and goes, "There's gotta be a better way."
Like, no wonder middle schoolers are like, okay, we have to take to the streets to demand something changes because the people in charge are just fucking they just, oh my god, they don't even give a shit. They're not even trying to pretend that they want to keep kids safe because it's like, oh, rocks.
I think
that's gonna stop an AK-47.
Well,
I think
David and Goliath.
I think the rocks is reminiscent of something I heard. It might have been on this podcast, or maybe just something one of my friends told me of a school that was teaching kids to like, if there was a shooter, like run around as much as you can. It's not meant to stop. Okay, no. Let me finish.
Serpentine.
Run around and be chaotic. And the point of this is so that the shooter will shoot less kids. It'll be harder for them to shoot the kids. So the rocks is not meant to stop the shooter. It's meant to slow him down so he can minimize the casualties.
Well, I heard you're also supposed to get some pots and pans and bang them together.
Yeah.
And make yourself look really big.
We're at the point where we're training kids on how to slow shooters down with their own dead bodies.
Right.
I mean, that was the fucking Megan McArdle take where she was like, "Now, what if everybody just rushed the shooter?
Yeah.
If you just hurl bodies,
just run at the gunfire.
Yeah, like that fucking agent in that Die Hard, like, oh yeah, we'll lose like 10-15% of them tops, and it's like, yeah, it's like that was like a good day. Fuck.
Yeah, well, you gotta have your baseline amount of children massacred that you can call a good day, and
you're gonna have some collateral damage.
Yeah, but who cares?
Well, instead of dogpiling the shooter when he's shooting everyone, if they just dogpiled him with hugs and love and affection beforehand, then they wouldn't kill anyone.
Yeah.
Right.
Because, he's a misunderstood loner, and he's, never... he didn't say bully children in when he was 12. Oh, wait, that editorial in the New York Times about the Stoneman Douglas shooter opens with a line about how he, hit her with food when she was 12.
Okay,
so,
sure, but...
I don't know, just be nice.
Think of it this way. Imagine, just try to put yourself in the mindset, you are the shooter, okay? You
Done.
Throw open the door, you point your gun at these kids, and then they all scream, "I love you." What are you gonna do?
Oh, this is dark.
This is very...
That's right. You'll freeze. You won't know how to respond to that.
If only people had made friends with Timothy McVeigh, just...
Yeah.
Who's that? Is that the guy in Call Me By Your Name?
No, he's the...
Oh my god!
Oh my god. Oklahoma City
the
bombing.
Guy from Call Me By Your Name.
I think it's like the greatest... Yeah, he did the Oklahoma City bombing.
Okay.
And every classroom is going to have a bucket full of peaches that have been filled with ejaculate.
My god.
Oh my god.
Sorry, Luna.
So,
yeah,
in other
I
solutions...
really
I promised
right
Luna
now.
that I wouldn't make any jokes about cum. I'm so sorry.
This is different.
I mean, I would have been disappointed if you didn't. Honestly, if you say
have.
"Call Me By Your Name," that's the thing. So
Yeah, that's
I'll allow
a
it.
classy cum joke.
for the film literate.
Our Oscar-winning cum jokes.
That's a joke you could tell at the Oscars, and did at the Golden
It
Globes.
is though. So another.
Peach is kind of a Golden Globe.
Thank you. I didn't want to say it.
Thank you.
I was like, I hope
have
someone
to
makes this
stop.
joke because I feel like I'm pushing it.
All right, let's go.
let's talk about Killer Mike. So, Killer Mike is a rapper in his own right and is also a part of Run the Jewels.
He's not an actual killer. He's just a killer rapper.
No. Bernie was scared.
Bernie Sanders' voice.
Yeah, Bernie, he is pretty well known for supporting Bernie Sanders before the Democratic primary, and Run the Jewels is a very good group, and I almost said my own username
Dude,
again.
I called them Run the Gems like 2 days ago, and everybody was laughing at me.
My impact. So,
for
Killer Mike,
listeners not in the Discord, this is Lauren's username on a lot of things, for the record.
Yeah, follow me. Boost my social profile.
Uh-huh.
So, Killer Mike did an yes. He did an interview with I guess this guy is like some kind of advocate for black gun ownership, is the guy that Killer Mike talked to, and they spoke about, the importance of, the Second Amendment also applying to everybody in America. And from Killer Mike's kind of explanation of the video afterward, because people were like, hi, what the fuck? Why are you making videos for NRA TV? Because the video was apparently posted, like, on the day of the march, and it was kind of clear that the NRA was using him as kind of a response to, look, this, black guy that people like, he's here to tell you why the NRA is good and actually supports Second Amendment rights for all people, which we know is kind of a bold-faced lie, and it does sound like he felt like he had been manipulated into doing the interview, because he does believe in gun ownership, but for people of color especially, but like, oh man, what a bad look. Like,
his argument was basically like, the reason that people need guns, and particularly black people, is because you can't count on the cops to save you when you're in trouble. And
Fair enough.
that I do think, to be fair, we know like the Black Panthers had their whole thing where like they, by them exercising their Second Amendment rights, they actually got change passed because fucking white politicians were terrified of them. Mm-hmm. And I do think there's something to that. But first of all, read the fucking room, Michael.
Yeah. And more recently, Philando Castile, who was, murdered by police on Facebook Live, I think told the police officer that he had a gun and was permitted to use it, and was trying to let him know, like, okay, I have this in my car, but, of course the NRA doesn't give a shit about Philando Castile or his family or the police killing him. So, yeah, it was just seemed very, like, tone deaf, honestly, that Killer Mike was like, oh yeah, well, we need to make sure we have arms to ensure that we can protect ourselves, which I think is fair enough of an opinion, but at the same time, it's like,
he couldn't have picked a worse time and place to express that opinion. You
pick the worst time and place with the worst group of people, and it's, I don't know, I personally don't see more guns. Everybody having more guns is a good thing. I really do respect the fact that people don't trust law enforcement or anyone in the government to protect them, and so they want to take their personal safety into their own hands, but, like, I just think it's a recipe for more gun violence. But that's also just me, and we can disagree as leftists, because that's a good thing. It's healthy to disagree with each other, but at the same time, enough, Killer Mike. Enough.
I'm okay with him saying stuff that I disagree with. I just think he really, really could not have picked a worse way to say the thing that I disagree with.
Yeah, you work with the NRA. It's time to go.
Even if he had said it at that time, but said it in any other way than an interview with the NRA, that would have been better.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. So so in things that aren't about guns for once, so if Adnan Syed, who if you listen to Serial, you know a lot about, is actually going to get a new trial. The Maryland Court of Appeals is going to try him again on all charges, because if you listen to the show, his lawyer years and years ago was just kind of a scumbag and did everything wrong. So I don't know how any of you guys feel about that, and if you listened to Serial, and just watched by looking at Sarah Koenig, just a still image of her talking as you listened, as I did. But
or like a sort of jib jab one where her mouth is opening and closing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, or like a Diddy version.
I've never listened to Serial, so I have no idea what this is about.
If you don't know anything about the case, it's a case about a kid, Adnan Syed, who was a high schooler at the time, who was arrested and convicted on the murder of his high school girlfriend, Hae-Min Lee. And there was just kind of a lot of questions around, like the family was certain that that Adnan's attorney hadn't, done her due diligence. And so there was kind of a whole exploration of all the facts of the case. And it's a not to talk about other podcasts on this podcast.
It's really interesting. And later on I started to feel kind of weird about like just the kind of voyeurism of like looking at people's real lives that are actually affected by this sort of thing, and like the way some people talk about it, like, oh, they went to visit the town as like a tourist destination or whatever, to like, oh, here's the spot where she got murdered. Like, that's fucked up.
This is the thing about true crime that has always kind of put me off. Like, I get the interest. I get it, why people, like, this is an interest for people, but, like, when it kind of spirals into, like, a fandom with a complete disregard of, like, the things that actually happened, then you get, like, those... Do you remember those people on Tumblr who, like, drew comics with, like, Jeffrey Dahmer in them? And shit like that?
Yeah.
And it was, like, and it was all, like, a cute, oh, Jeffrey Dahmer, you scamp.
Yeah,
it's not. I mean, I can tell you from what little I know about this, it goes way deeper than that.
My problematic fave, Jeffrey Dahmer.
But I still I still think it's possible to enjoy those things without being one of those people. So not completely knocking on like Serial or whatever, but
yeah. And if you like Serial, patreon.com/HKIPGTD. Sound off in the comments and give us $500.
We're gonna solve something.
I don't know what.
Okay.
What's our next shout out?
So Trump isn't a fan of Amazon, and he's woke
Okay,
now.
like this will be the first that I heard about this, but I have no idea what happened. So like, please explain it.
Cool. So Trump tweeted, as he is wont to do, about Amazon, kind of screwing over the post office for some reason and not, paying their taxes fairly, which post office thing is incorrect because the post office makes a ton of money off of Amazon shipping.
Right.
But he isn't a fan of Jeff Bezos, which is an interesting
friend of the show,
for...
Donald Trump.
Welcome to the resistance.
Patreon subscriber
Literally,
Donald
he's woke
Trump.
now. I don't even know what even brought this on other than
He probably
just,
there was probably like a segment on Fox or something that was just like,
oh, I'm sure,
Amazon something. He's like, hey, what?
Absolutely.
Goes to Twitter.
Who was it that
many people are saying?
Takes a sip of Kafifi.
He just tweets his most recent thought.
I mean, same.
Like, who was it that said if we were to get him in a room with us, we could probably get him to leave that room, like, and say, like, leftism is good, actually. Like,
ISIS.
he is completely malleable. There's nothing...
Yeah.
Yep. There you go.
Good. So, this is a shout out that I wanted to do, and I promise I won't, last forever, but, this is the greatest mystery of our time. So
this is
Beyonce,
what Serial Season 3 should be about.
This is Season 3 of Serial. So, Tiffany Haddish, who is an actress in Girls Trip and is generally a very cool comedian, she did an interview with GQ, and she talked about being at this party where she met Beyonce and how excited she was. And then there was a woman who came up to Beyonce and, bit her on the face. Put her mouth on Beyonce's face and just bit her, even with all the security and people around.
Really hard?
I
she
guess
took off her
I don't
entire
think so,
nose.
because it's not...
because I was thinking, maybe it was just kind of a weird thing, some people just be like, I don't fucking know what people do.
Bite or
but
whatever.
Was this like a Mike Tyson just full on attack bite?
I think we would know if it was that scarring or something.
I think that the reason that it became a story just because Tiffany Haddish was like, do you want me to fight this girl? Which I thought was a great response. She's just like, that girl just bit you and I will fight you. And Beyonce's like, no, she's on drugs. Like, don't make a scene. Don't worry about it.
Jesus.
So of course now the
it's
mystery.
like Beyonce always says, if you like it, then you better put your teeth on it. Thank you.
Exactly. She did say that.
Her cheek wound just closed up like Wolverine, and she's like, it's fine.
You know it did. So the mystery, of course, is trying to figure out who like could have done it, and the evidence, as we know, is that it's like a famous woman but apparently is somebody who is not normally like this. So all of the people who, like, they were kind of like trying to figure out who could have done it and like going through the list of possible culprits, and it's apparently somebody that nobody expects. So I would like to actually hear your theories about who would bite Beyonce in the face.
Jennifer Lawrence.
I don't
Jennifer
know.
Lawrence.
It's totally Jennifer Lawrence.
I don't know anything about this, but I did see a thing on Twitter that was like, someone said, like, here's a compelling case for why it's Scarlett Johansson, and people were like, oh.
I can see that.
Right, because Chrissy Teigen was
I don't know anything about Scarlett Johansson, so.
It was just like, Chrissy Teigen made a joke like, deep down you know who it is, and Scarlett Johansson was in a movie called Deep Down, so they're like, detective work, but like, no, I don't think there's any. It was just some dumb Twitter joke, and then some people were saying it was the actress Sanaa Lathan. It was. They asked like all these different actresses, and my favorite was the response that they got from like Amy Adams' publicist, and it's like, no, she didn't do it. So funny that you think Amy would do something like that.
Yeah.
Can I have a thought or something I'd like to point out. In our episode links document where we like put our different topics for every week, we put our names in parentheses after each thing we want to talk about, and I'm looking here and it says, who bit Beyonce? And then in parentheses it says Lauren. So just checking. Was that you saying I want to talk about this, or was that a confession?
Yeah, that was me saying that I wanted to talk about it.
A little bit of
but
this,
you know what? The evidence is here.
Yeah.
Serial season 3.
Lauren problematic.
I can't account for my whereabouts on the night of that party, so maybe it was me.
It probably was you.
I don't know.
Yeah, if you HuffPost does have an up.
It was definitely out of love. If I did that.
What if it was Hillary
Just a love
Clinton?
bite.
It was probably Hillary Clinton.
What if it was Hillary Clinton?
You know, she's just rolling on M, and it's not treating her too well.
More like Hillary chomping. That didn't work.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry.
That's okay. You tried.
Hillary,
I appreciate it.
Hillary dropped that dun dun dun, and
What?
don't drop that.
No, she
right
whipped
out.
in Nay-Nade. Okay,
I'm not the only
anyway.
person that knows that song, right?
Apparently.
Of course not. Don't drop that dump. That's a classic.
Yeah. For 1 second, I thought that I made that song up.
No.
Please,
it's
you're not
real.
that talented.
No, I'm not.
Are we ready to move on to questions?
Oh, questions.
Real quick, I just wanted to do one more prayer for Lulu's leg. Host Lulu is still recovering from her broken leg. I just wanted us to send good thoughts.
Put your
once
arms
again.
up and send her your energy.
Pour one out for
Send
our
love.
homie. I'm just pouring a 40 of beer onto my floor right now.
Like to charge, subscribe to our Patreon to cast.
Want to cast.
To put her leg in a cast.
All right.
Okay, I think it is question time.
All right.
If you want to send us a question, you can send it to tumblr.com
Nope,
/
that's- nope.
HK. No.
Not how the website does it.
I don't get any. I don't get messages very often, so I don't know how to actually use the thing.
hkipgtd.tumblr.com/ask.
Word.
Yeah.
Wow, thanks, Sam. All right, so we're going into our first question, which is from the tallest Jew on Tumblr. When I'm thinking about upcoming elections, I default into the mental phrases of, we have to beat them, even though the Democratic is bad and also ineffectual somehow. How do I get around this tribalistic thinking and rooting for a team I don't believe in and fight for things that will actually make a difference, despite tribalism being a necessity under the political system America has today? So how do we beat that, we have to beat the other team kind of vibe?
I think that's a valid way to feel during primaries.
Yeah.
But once the primaries are over, I think at that point you have to I mean,
You're really fighting for your survival at that point.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
I would say in the general election, if you didn't vote for Hillary Clinton, you were wrong.
But
yeah, I would agree. I
Yeah.
mean, unless you live in like a hyper blue state like Massachusetts or New
Yeah,
York,
yeah,
like safe blue states, and you're protest voting. But yeah, if you're in a swing state and for whatever reason your conscience doesn't allow you to vote Democratic, then I don't really know what to say there. I think you did make
You're
the wrong
probably not
decision.
listening to this podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean,
All right.
yeah,
I think that's a good
that's a whole that's
focus.
a big discussion of like some people feel complicit in whatever, I don't know, crimes Hillary would have done if
Yeah.
she had voted for her.
Right.
So I don't know. That's a
Yeah.
tough discussion. I totally like try to urge everyone that I know to vote for the lesser of two evils, just because that's the world we live in. But
Yeah.
I have a hard time getting really like all red and nude online about people not doing.
Yeah,
it.
the
I mean, if you voted
two-party
for Trump,
system,
fuck you. But
This podcast is great, but I wish there was a way to find the MAGAs and Nazis in the Discord.
I mean,
I think it's local elections too. You're
Yeah.
right, like primaries,
Yeah.
and also like really focusing kind of on the local level and what you can do to sway politics in your particular area. I think is taking the Democrats further left. I think is a good thing. So I would probably suggest like that rather than just the Democrats want to do this, so that's what I'm going to do. So I think it's activism in the local sphere more than just voting blue to not die in the presidential election.
the other thing I think is putting the pressure on candidates, well, both candidates and people once they're actually in power, letting them know, hey, like, I support a lot of your causes, but like some of these views you have are fucked up, and whether that's after you voted for them or when they're running, like you can still vote for people and not completely agree with everything they want to do. And you can be vocally critical. Like I mean, I was being vocally critical of Hillary even when I wanted her to beat Trump. Like,
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not here to tout like Canada over the United States, but like we don't directly elect leaders. We elect the same way it's done in like England. You elect MPs, and then whoever's got the most seats, that's the party that's in control. And sometimes it's not the majority. What seems to be the consequence of that is that both Canada and England have like actual left-wing parties that can gain a lot of traction and power and have not had a majority. No, there was a Labour majority in like 1910 or something, and it scared the shit out of like everyone in England. So there hasn't been one since. But
Born in the wrong generation.
So yeah, like there's I think just like opening up so that there can be like a wider range of like candidates. Although we do still have Prime Minister Justin Trudeau Bay, so like who's kind of shitty. So it's like
Dad.
the problems still emerge. We
Daddy.
still kind of Daddy Trudeau. We still elect like a king of the country in our minds.
yeah.
And if nothing else, I think just trying to find like good community is the best way to get through the bullshit at the federal level, I think.
Yeah.
Tumblr user Akumioi, I hope I said that right, asked, "Where do I go to get weed?"
I'm editing us out. Let's move
Now
on.
this is another thoughtful question. If you find out, please
This is
let me know.
definitely a cop for the record.
Yeah. Yeah. For the record, this is Patreon user Smoke Weed. So
Oh,
Gets me every
right.
time.
Okay. Well, that's a thing though. If Patreon user Smoke Weed doesn't know where to get weed, like what luck do any of the rest of us have? Tumblr user Futch Cassidy asked, Oprah voice, and you get to be a Russian psyop, and you get to be a Russian psyop. You all get to be Russian psyops. For reals, though, thoughts on the normalization or parody of right-wing people or phrases? This is about the change my mind guy. So that
I
meme that was
love
going
that
around.
meme.
I'm
I want to clarify real quick because there are probably people who don't know what that's referring to. The Tumblr finding a bunch of blogs that supposedly were tied to like Russian fucking like influence. So I don't fucking remember the term that they used. But
Yeah.
Russian Institute of Research, blah, blah, blah. Internet Research
Agency, I think that's what it was called.
Association.
Yeah, so
Yeah, Internet Research
like 80
Agency, thank you.
blogs got deleted for being Russian somethings. And I have no way of verifying if they are because the blogs are gone, so who fucking
We are
knows?
all
But,
Russian psyops.
yeah, besides, they missed us, but other than that. Anyway.
We need a Disney princess who is a Russian psyop.
Oh, and the Change My Mind guy, by the way, is Steven Crowder, for anyone who doesn't know. I didn't know that until
who's
recently.
a huge
Yeah.
shithead idiot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think like co-opting these people's dumb jokes, like explicitly couched to make it like clear that you're making fun of them. I think that's all right. Like I don't think there's really an element of normalizing going on as long as you're clear that whoever you're mocking is being mocked.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think it's important to make these people feel stupid and shitty because
Oh, yeah,
they are.
for sure. Yeah.
There was
Right.
I read an academic, not a paper, but like an article that was written about the, do you remember the meme where they'd like re-subtitle that one scene with Hitler?
Yeah.
Remember
yeah.
that?
Oh, yeah, that was
And it
all.
was like an article written about like a war historian who focused on World War II, how like he thought it was really important that people feel like they can make these jokes and like tear him down as a figure and mock him. And like obviously some of those jokes were pretty shitty, but the article was like really insightful. It was like, no, we should feel like we can mock and make fun of Hitler because
Right.
it's like it removes all the power from his image.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that was the Great Dictator idea, that Charlie Chaplin movie.
Yeah.
Where it's kind of pretty explicitly supposed to be about how foolish and awful Hitler is.
Yeah.
With regard to the Change My Mind meme, so for anyone who's not familiar, the original of it was Steven Crowder at a table looking so smug, and it was like, the table said like, male privilege does not exist, change my mind.
Mm-hmm.
And when people make posts like that say like, my mug is full of pee-pee, change my mind, like that's objectively good. I think that if you're using that to legitimately express actual like right-wing talking points, like if you're like, black people commit more crimes, change my mind, then it's like, okay, well now you're just being, but I mean, I don't think that's something that's gonna happen among people who aren't already on that side, so I don't think it really, it feels like a non-issue to me.
Well, this probably comes from, I saw like someone get an ask on Tumblr that was like, the guy in that Change My Mind meme is a huge transphobe and horrible. You should delete those posts. It's like, well, yeah, that's the point.
Yeah, the posts are like taking the format of his thing and being like, what a fucking douchebag.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
I just remembered that one of those Hitler videos that I watched, that whoever was doing it was about Game of Thrones, and the person doing the subtitles synced up the subtitles so that when Hitler yelled Stalin, the subtitle said Stannis. And I was like, that's so fucking good.
Love a meme. Why wasn't
Was
that
that,
meme in Agit Pie's you can still why didn't Agit Pie come out with an armband and a Hitler haircut and a mustache?
Oh, yeah. That would have been
I
good.
wonder
Like,
why.
you want to
Also,
see Hitler
Linus-
react to stuff? Well, good news. Anyway.
So, Linus, was that like Stalin and Stannis? Did you find that on Brooks's YouTube page? Or
I
was
did,
that,
yeah.
like,
It was
out of-
made by Brooks.
That's so weird.
Why would Brooks compare Stalin to Stannis?
Oh, because they're the same person.
Right, that's a thing that Patrick would think that Brooks would get mad at
Yeah,
him for thinking.
we're
Well,
about
no,
to start an
listen,
argument here.
I don't think that it's really subjective. You know, I think if you just look at the facts, they're the same person.
All right.
For the record,
Great,
for
I'd
our
love
listeners,
to-
Patrick is a Targaryen loyalist, just so you know what's going on.
Let's everybody just calm down.
Right.
I love Game of Thrones fights.
I wish there was a way to find
All
the
right.
Targaryens and anyway.
Next
Baratheons
question.
in this chat.
All right, this next
many
question
houses.
it's what a weird coincidence. It's who is the true ruler of Westeros?
Oh, well, thank you, Josh. I'm
Oh
glad
my
you asked.
god. Okay.
This question from Taking Turns at Random.
Huh, weird. I've been hacked.
All right. The actual next question is also from Tumblr user Futch Cassidy, who asked, liberals/centrists/whatever do know that Russia hasn't been communist for more than a quarter of a century, right?
No.
Also,
No, they
what
don't
are your
know that.
takes on the expulsion of Russian diplomats, or as the media is calling them, spies?
Well,
so this was after a
They're not
chemical
spies,
attack.
but like
Yeah, they're not. They're diplomats.
The country of Russia, which is, as Futch Cassidy mentioned, deeply, deeply, wildly capitalist, like they're not good. The Russian government is not a friend to the United States. I think that's pretty clear. And
Yeah.
I don't know if expelling diplomats is really gonna help, but like I understand the desire to take some sort of action against Russia. And not and I want to be clear here, not because I think they like rigged the election or whatever. That's, I think, crackpot and nuts. But because they have their own history of human rights violations, you know, which kind of needs to be addressed and dealt with.
Yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong, though.
Oh, sure.
I don't really know too much about the Russian economy. I was under the impression that there was a lot of like nationalized stuff in like doesn't their government own like the big energy company or something?
Yeah, a lot of energy and oil services out of the country are quote unquote nationalized, but it's not the people who are benefiting from that. It's oligarchs.
Oh yeah.
I only know anything about Russia in the context of theater history.
Well, that's what we know about Russia.
All right.
So that's
Yeah, and
good.
if that's what we know
All right.
about Russia, then liberals and centrists definitely don't know shit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, see the movie
'Cause we're
Red
smarter than
Dawn.
them.
In the movie Red Dawn, they're communists, so like that's what they are.
True.
Yeah.
There you go.
Scary Russians. Okay. Another question from Tumblr from Falafeling in Love, who asked,
Oh, that's
"Hey,
what it
hip
says.
kibbidi." It's a. I just saw the thumbnail of a YouTube video where funny charter school user Samantha B holds up a sign saying, "Pokemon Go Away Guns." What are the chances that she's secretly a friend of the show,
No.
or that you can
No.
sue her for copyright
Nope.
infringement?
Well, here's
Well,
the thing.
I mean, technically, we did.
We
we don't.
we did-
We don't own
We have the
that.
rights to Pokemon Go, okay?
I mean, we did technically take the phrase from like Hillary Clinton, so
yeah,
she
like
could
it wasn't
sue us.
even us.
Yeah.
She gave us permission.
Every time
Oh,
I
that's
see
nice of her.
the actual Pokemon Go Twitter come up on my feed, I think it's us for like a fraction of a second.
Man, we
Oh,
got
yeah,
really
me too.
weird in corporate.
Yeah, I'd like
Yeah,
to
so-
announce that our podcast is now offering in-app purchases.
Yeah.
Oh my god! What can you buy?
At any given moment, you can give us $1 to hear us say the word "come,"
And you have
or
to
you
pay
can give us
$2
$5 to get
make
us
it
to stop saying it. I'm sorry, Luna.
What are the chances she's secretly a friend of the show? What does secretly a friend mean? Like we're hiding it from everyone?
Like a
Or like
closet
a,
listener,
like
I
a
think.
George Soros
Like-
situation.
No, this
A secret listener.
Yeah, this podcast is several dozen degrees too left for Samantha B to ever associate with it, and I'm pretty sure we've talked shit about her before.
Right.
And I
She's
will
not
again.
secretly a friend
Yeah,
of the
yeah.
show. We are openly collaborating with Samantha B. And she's here now.
For $5, you can activate her voice channel. That's an in-app joke.
Well, this question comes from Anonymous. So Samantha B asks, "Are y'all scared? Are y'all scared of being deactivated for being Russian propaganda, agents of chaos, Hillary haters, and anti-USA?"
No.
I've been deactivated
No.
for
No.
worse.
We're hosted in.
You have.
We're technically hosted in Canada.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
Wait,
like-
Oh, that is
You
true.
can't touch us.
Matt's
is
server.
the server geographically in Canada?
Well, no, but like it's a Canadian server.
IP, I guess.
IP, so like diplomatic immunity.
Yeah, that's
That's right.
Oh, man.
We're legally diplomats.
That's how that works.
Yeah, it's just like Lethal Weapon.
Isn't the internet hosted in Canada?
The whole
Yeah.
thing.
Oh my god, we could get away with anything. Anonymous also asks, "After he dies, you could call the show Henry Kissinger Has Pokemon Gone to Hell?" And we have had some discussion
Yeah.
as to
Yeah.
if the
I
name
don't-
should
I don't
change.
think we want to make an official statement yet.
Yeah,
When it
no
happens,
way.
we'll talk
Yeah.
about it some more.
We'll cross
Yeah.
that bridge when we come to it.
If it happens.
The
if it
conversations
happens.
are in the works.
No, Sam, it's Pokemon going to happen. It's in the
If.
goddamn title.
That is
Just
not a
every
threat,
day
is
I'm
it?
less sure.
Yeah. You know, it's been a lot of days since we started this, and he's still not dead.
Yeah, how?
Yeah, what is this, week 15?
I'm gonna feel like sad when he actually dies because I'm gonna be
No,
like,
you're not.
And,
Well,
and
I won't.
No,
Well,
you're
it'll
not.
be the end of an era for us. We'll have to you
You're
know,
not. You won't.
grad-
So think
Graduate.
how good that episode is going to be.
Oh my
it's
God.
gonna be
Yeah,
so
we should
good.
just get like
Oh.
all 15 of us on.
Yeah, like
Oh,
all of us on.
absolutely.
To just get
Just scream.
Oh my god, I'm so excited.
The uneditable episode.
Just yelling, "What the fuck
Absolutely.
is up, gamers," for an hour.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, I think that's our last question.
All right, so I guess we can get into Lightbringers. Not to talk about another podcast on this show again. That's two strikes. But there's a podcast that I know. It's the New York Times Magazine. They put out every week, and it's called Still Processing. And two of their writers kind of pick topics and things that they've been thinking about and kind of go into the specifics of it. It's really, really thoughtful. I know New York Times we're not fans of right now, but the magazine is like more removed, and both of them are black and identify as queer, and they're just really, really smart. And there are two episodes that I want to recommend. So the first thing I think you should listen to is the episode that's about Whitney Houston, and they basically just talk about like what she means to the culture and like talk about her songs, and it's just like it basically taught me that if I hear the beginning of I Will Always Love You, I will cry. I will get misty-eyed. I don't know why. It's just a fact about me. So that's a really good episode. And then the one that just dropped today, it's literally just called We're Maxed Out, You're Maxed Out, Everybody is Maxed Out. And it's about kind of this like ongoing anxiety that we're experiencing right now and kind of how we feel like we need to pay attention to everything, but it's causing us so much stress to be so aware of what's going on. And they also kind of make a really great connection between that and the AIDS crisis and Angels in America, and the way that particular stress and anxiety culturally was talked about. And it's really, really thoughtful podcast. And also, if you didn't know I was gay, I talked about Angels in America and Whitney Houston. So there's your evidence.
And you bit Beyonce.
And I did bite Beyonce. So all the facts are there. But yeah, Still Processing is a really good podcast, and it has made me tear up on the bus.
All right.
Nice.
Well, my Lightbringer this week is, it does come out today if you're listening to this on Friday, Series of Unfortunate Events Season 2.
Oh, hell yeah.
And it's just such a good adaptation of the books. And I'm saying that having not really liked the books. I stopped reading them when I was a kid because I just found them a little too much. Like, it was very depressing and very dark, and the show improves on them in almost every single way. It's probably Neil Patrick Harris's best role. It fits him perfectly.
Yeah, I did not expect him to be good as Count Olaf, but he was.
It's just, it's perfect.
Also, fucking Patrick Warburton.
He's so good.
He always plays like the angry meathead type, and I super did not see him being a good Lemony Snicket, but he totally was.
Within the first 10 seconds, he sold me. I was like, oh, this is going to be awesome.
Yeah. I was a big fan of the books as a kid. Like, those were what I was into before, like, Harry Potter. Like, so I was I had impossible expectations for that adaptation, and it's a good show.
I did like the books, but I stopped reading them for the same reason I stopped watching Oz. I just couldn't handle the depression anymore. And
see, because I'm love to be depressed.
Yeah, so I firmly believe this is maybe the only adaptation that I can say that I'm enjoying much more than the books. I won't say that it's better.
That's fair.
Because they've made some decisions that I think are really good that some people think are a little weird. But yeah, check it out. It is an amazing show. It's a complete delight. There's not a single moment of tedium or boredom. It's just a great show.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. I've been getting really into Sean. That's not just my neighbor or someone. It's a leftist YouTuber. He used to be part of Sean and Jen. Is probably how
yeah. Sean is good.
They kind of started out as just playing video games a few years ago, and then they're both British, and then I don't know how this happened. He kind of talks about this in some of his videos, but he kind of just tripped into he started out with making fun of CinemaSins and stuff, and then ended up making fun of alt-right losers on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a lot of what he does, is just looking at Sargon of Akkad and Stefan Molyneux.
A lot of Paul Joseph Watson.
Yeah, and just going through their videos so you don't have to, although he encourages you to every time just to make sure that he's not misrepresenting them, which is good. But then just tearing their arguments down. And the pleasure that I get from this is a combination of catharsis, Schadenfreude, and just feeling smarter than them. But the reason that
Same reason you use those words.
Exactly. Well, yeah. Sorry. The same reason Listen, I got an English degree. I have to use it somehow.
It's okay.
By using a German word.
You got me there. But the reason I tell
Hello,
myself I
you're
listen
fine.
to
Anyway.
it is because he it's kind of good to like if I encountered one of these like absolute dipshits in real life, I wouldn't even really know what to say to them, because I'd be like I don't even really know what the arguments are, because I've tried to just avoid it completely. And like hearing him like listen to these talking points that a lot of alt-righters, if you met them in real life, are going to use, and hearing them provide you with talking points to give back to them, not even talking points, that sounds bad, but just facts, just reality, that feels really useful to me, and it makes me feel smarter because of it. But also, it's just very, like, funny. And he started his new series in 2018. He's not just targeting them, but he's just doing videos completely on his own. So, like, he recently put out a video about how privatization has failed railways in Britain specifically. And that almost sounds kind of boring, but it's really fascinating. And he's going to be doing a lot of those. So you should really keep an eye on him if you... Like, anytime that I'm eating, I am watching one of his videos now, and it's really entertaining.
Mm-hmm. So I have been watching Search Party, which is a show on TBS. It's sort of like a dark comedy murder mystery. It stars Alia Shawkat, and it's written by some really cool people like Michael Showalter and Charles Rogers, who both wrote Wet Hot American Summer. And it's really good. It's funny, and it also makes me really uncomfortable to watch in a way that like nothing else except like the third season of Twin Peaks does. And it's not a similar show at all, but just watching multiple episodes at a time is kind of hard, just because it feels wrong in a really well done, tasteful way. And it's, the whole show kind of revolves around this big mystery, so I don't want to spoil anything, but I do endorse it heartily.
Wow. I had no idea it was a Showalter joint. That makes me...
Yeah.
I mean, I'm interested in the other people involved too, obviously, but wow.
Very cool.
I'll check it out. I know Patrick just made me look bad because his was like 30 seconds and I went on for like 5 minutes, but whatever.
Yeah, well, mine's going to be even shorter because I got fucking nothing. Let's see.
Aw. Yeah, that's all right.
Let's see. Here's what I can say. I want to give a shout out to the self-titled album Jukebox the Ghost by the band Jukebox the Ghost.
Nice.
Because I think that album is like super underappreciated, because I don't know if anyone listens to them, but they usually have more of like a sort of, I don't want to say edgier, but I'm going to anyway, edgier kind of like indie pop rock kind of sound, and their self-titled album was just kind of like pretty full on into just like pop territory, but it's just such a fucking good album, and I think that album like firmly secures their place as like best band in the world at using claps. Listen to their song Hollywood and you'll understand.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys. I believe that's podcast. So you can find us pretty much everywhere on Tumblr and Twitter and Facebook and Patreon at HKIPGTD, which is the acronym of our podcast, and I wanted to enunciate it so you know it. But to get a hold of us individually, you can find me, I'm Lauren, at LeBlanc_, and you can follow me on Tumblr at Run the Gems. It's like the band, but with gems in the name, because Steven Universe.
Oh,
the show that I used to watch.
Yeah.
I
thought you just liked wealth.
Jules
that too.
Jules would... Anyway.
Oh, that's a good point.
Such a good point, I didn't even need to make it.
All right, well, I'm Linus. I am at Linus Kloss on Twitter, which I'm considering about, like, maybe cleaning up a bit. I don't know who's going to check, because, like, I got an agent and I'm on, like, a casting website now, so, like, I might actually have to start looking after my optics.
But it's been a pleasure doing this last episode with you.
Yeah, no, I'm still gonna, they're not going to listen to my podcast. Like, they might see it and be like, that's a weird name for a podcast. But, like, it is, like, one of the more left, like, career fields I could be in, so I'm not super worried. But I probably just won't be tweeting about cum.
By your optics, do you mean your abs?
Yeah. Anyway, follow me on Twitter. I'm not really on anything else. I deleted Facebook. I didn't.
You can never really delete Facebook in this day and age. They'll find you.
Yeah.
If you die on Facebook,
That
you die
sucks.
in real life.
That's true. That is true, because they'll kill you.
Yep, and because you won't get
Where
invited
can
to any
people
parties.
find you, Josh?
Oh, well, on Facebook, but don't add me. But also on Tumblr at Venusaurphobia, or mainly follow me on Twitter at Twigwrists. And that's
I'm Patrick. If you put the following 6 characters in anywhere on the internet, you'll find me PG1497.
And I'm Sam. I'm on Twitter at PosiStress and on Tumblr at positive-stress. And I talked about this last week. I'm probably going to, like, as soon as we finish this recording, put up like a straw poll asking people if they want us to keep doing these at the end of every episode, because it might be unnecessary at this point in the podcast. But yeah.
Okay, awesome. So, as we said at the top, you can find us at all social media pretty much as our acronym, but then you can also find us on Patreon, where if you donate $1, you can support our awesome podcast work that we do, and you get access to our bonus content, which includes long-form Lightbringers. Patrick, you just posted one about the first 12 seconds of Love Myself by Haley
Not the
Steinfeld.
first 12
Not-
seconds. It's
Oh,
12
just
seconds
I'm
in
sorry.
the acoustic cover of Love Myself by Haley Steinfeld,
Duh.
which is
Thank you.
which is
I'm glad you're here
one
to
of
clarify.
one of my favorite pieces of music ever recorded. It's really good, and you should check it out.
Awesome. So, and we're going to be posting a ton more longer Lightbringers and other fun stuff. But also at the $5 reward level, you can get a special role in our Discord, which the link to join our Discord is on our Tumblr. And you get a shout out in the podcast for being just really great comrades. So I want to shout out all of those people who give at least $5 right now. So thank you to Alex Shoop, aka Schiller
Shoup,
Mike.
Shoup.
Oh, it's good. Shoup, Alex
did it
Shoup,
last time,
'cause
I
it's
know.
Shout with a P, aka Schiller Mike, Nick Jagged, Scout Shiro, Nick Pettizzani, Evan, Lola Gaines, Daily Garfield, Brett House, Stephanie Roof,
Rough.
Ollie Anders, Smoke Weed, and Ellen Nordhog.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you so much. And then at the $10 level, you get an even more special role on Discord so that you can listen to the podcast as we record it and hear all of the bullshit that happens, like, oh, my recording dropping out or
And,
something
lis-
like
and
that.
listen
I
to
don't
us
know.
mispronounce your name.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Which Nick Jagged and Shout with a P are doing right now. So thank you guys so much for your support. And I believe that, if we also want to thank the Taxpayers for the use of their song Evil Men off the album Cold Hearted Town. Again, I cannot believe that you let us use your music.
We're just going to be
And
saying it until forever. What were you thinking?
And I think that's podcast.
I think that's it.
That's a
everybody.
podcast.
That's a podcast.
So,
Toe to tip.
And we're going to fade this out on the sounds of us all
Pokemori.
patting ourselves on the back.
Memento Pokemori.
and this has been Henry Kissinger's Pokemon Going to Die, Not a Threat.
Just a fact.
Just a fact.
And we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Memento Pokemori.
Memento
Bye.
Pokemori.
I'm waving at my microphone.
Remember King Kong, remember Ferris Bueller, remember War Games, and Back to the Future, remember Tomb Raider, remember Weird Science, remember Battletoads and the Iron Giant, remember Star Wars and Transformers the movie, remember Ghostbusters, remember The Goonies, remember when neon used to be trendy, remember the Where's the Beef Lady from Wendy's. Remember Akira? That's from Japan. Remember Galaga and Mrs. Pac-Man? Remember Contra? Remember Street Fighter? Remember the A-Team? Remember Knight Rider? Remember The Simpsons seasons 1 through 9? Remember logging onto America Online? Remember Highlander and Highlander 2? Remember Star Trek? We certainly do.